So I'm by UIC, and this is the spaghetti bowl that they somewhat unwound this with these overpasses and underpasses. It was much worse, the spaghetti bowl. And so it was causing all kinds of massive delays. So they tried to unwind it and make fewer overpasses and fewer underpasses and make them more efficient, more lanes. Truly, they tried to unwind the spaghetti bowl, and they spent a fortune on doing this. So I don't know if it added up to less congestion. That was the whole point. And then we're down here to the Greyhound and Travel bus station. And yeah, the Flex bus. It's Flex with an I, or Flick with an I. It could be either or. Remember, I can be E or I. So it's the Greyhound station. So are they renting from Greyhound? Does Greyhound build this station and are renting from Greyhound? I took my first Greyhound bus, and it was my last Greyhound bus. Why? Well, I got on a Greyhound bus in the Phoenix, Arizona area after we got off a plane at Phoenix Sky Harbor with my brother John to visit Mark, a family member, at the University of Arizona. And we took the Greyhound down from Phoenix to Tucson. And when we got off at the bus terminal in Tucson, there were a bunch of bums, and it was unbelievably disgusting. So that's the last time I took the Greyhound, because they had a very good business shuttling people between where? Tucson and Phoenix. But what came instead? The van service. And so they use vans. This person opened up a van service, and it took over. And it had cleaner vans, and it dropped people off and picked them up at Circle K's. And so the Circle K's were taken care of and basically were clean, and you could get drinks and some food, and while you were waiting for the van to pick you up, and the van dropped you off at the Circle K. So it had an agreement with Circle K's in the Tucson and Phoenix area for picking people up and dropping them off, picking them up in Tucson, taking them to Phoenix and dropping them off at the airport. But I don't know if they picked up at Tucson airport and took people. But I know the main business was between the Phoenix airport, taking them from Tucson to the Phoenix airport, and from Phoenix airport down Canal Station. But the thing I want to mention, and this looks beautiful, and a great flower and great visuals, warm, nice, inviting, so nice touch. But the thing is, I never took a Greyhound again. Me and my brother were like, and he never took a Greyhound again. We stayed away from Greyhound, and plus Greyhound lost the business to Arizona Shuttle because the stations were filthy, and people getting in and out were students and business people and that, and people traveling. They didn't want to ride a Greyhound because the stations were filthy, and the people so on going on the buses and that, and so people wanted to ride with people that were better class. They weren't running into scam artists. They were riding with students, people doing tourism, people for business. And so I never had a bad experience on the Arizona Shuttle, the van service. Greyhound lost all its business. Truly lost all its business. And so there is a bus service from when I fly into New York, and it picks up and loads you off and drops you on. So Greyhound can do the same thing. It can shuttle you from and to Midway Airport, so they can have services that you can Greyhound can create this connection where they pick you up at Midway and take you to O'Hare, or pick you up at Midway and take you to Milwaukee, or pick you up at Midway and take you to Gary for a connection. So you fly in to Midway, or you fly into Gary and they shuttle you to Midway, or you fly into Gary and you're going to go international and you take the Greyhound from Gary to O'Hare Airport as an example, and you're flying, say, to Heathrow. So you fly in from Nebraska and you fly into Gary, which would be cheaper, or fly into Midway, which would be cheaper, and then you take the shuttle over, the Greyhound shuttle from Midway to O'Hare, and you catch the flight at O'Hare and fly out of O'Hare, just like they did the shuttle service, car service for me. I was at one airport in Florida. They took me to another airport, and that other airport, they flew me back to Chicago. So they shuttled me from one airport to another airport, something I posted about and actually ended up happening to me. So it's a great way to interconnect these 4 airports and cut fees and give Greyhound service, but also it's for logistical package service. Packages can fly in to Midway or Gary or Milwaukee and then be driven down to O'Hare to catch an international flight to China, a direct flight to China, or a flight that might stop in Alaska, Australia, and then from Australia to China. So it could have a couple stops, or it could fly in from here to Hong Kong, and then short hop from Hong Kong to Shanghai, pick up people in Hong Kong, stop in Shanghai, and then after Shanghai, fly back to O'Hare. And it can drop off logistics. So the airports can work together, helping each other out logistics, like the Rockford Airport. They can shuttle people from the Rockford Airport as well. So you have 3 big airports in Illinois. Rockford is a big airport. O'Hare is a big airport. Midway is a big airport. Atlanta has 1 big airport. Combined traffic between Rockford, O'Hare, and Midway, we are the busiest place in the United States for airport traffic. And we're not as big and long as California or Texas. And so these airports, like Rockford, it's only an hour and a half from here. So Gary, only 30 minutes. Milwaukee, only an hour and 15 minutes. So you see Midway, these 4 airports, Milwaukee, Rockford, Midway, O'Hare, and Gary, 5 airports, are close to each other. And so we can move logistics between the 5 airports to position the logistics to go everywhere domestically and internationally. And we can max out the airport's efficiency. And we can use semi-traffic and Greyhound. Greyhound can carry packages. And so they can haul mail between as well. Post office stuff and UPS stuff and FedEx stuff and Amazon. Truly. And shuttle it, helping to help them with their logistical traffic. So, again, Walmart needs to move stuff. So does Target and all these, Home Depot, Lowe's, and so on. And they can help in their logistical movements and help better their just-in-time situation, just-in-time inventory management. And so these 5 airports can work together with also the train lines, the bus lines, and the logistical traffic. So that's distribution center that's being built in Northbrook can work for all 5 airports, doing freight logistics and moving it between the 5 airports. Remember, Rockford is the 13th busiest cargo airport in the world. So it's a very busy global cargo airport. So, again, we can do these things and connect up. And so we have 2 airports. Atlanta has 1. If you combine just O'Hare and Midway together, it beats the traffic in Atlanta. They just have 1 major airport. We have 2 in the city of Chicago and 3 30 minutes. So with the Gary, that's 3, and they're all basically 30 minutes apart from each other. Midway from O'Hare, O'Hare from Gary, and Gary from Midway, O'Hare, depending on the route, I think they're all about 30 minutes apart. So we can increase this and add in Milwaukee and Rockford and move things between the 5 airports to create incredible logistical management. And so I'm down here at the shed, and they have a big crane behind it, and so they're doing some work. And looking on the lake, it's just incredibly beautiful down here. But they close it off. I mean, I don't truly get any of this. And so I guess the backside, it's open. But why would you want to close off the recreation? And you say public safety, well, make it safe so the public can use it. Truly. But the city closes down everything that increases property value by increasing recreational use, and it's counterintuitive. And so people really feel more trapped. It's like a concentration camp in that way. And they should be figuring out, if the citizen's the problem, like I solved the problem by, they work with the tenant association and they screen people, but they screen people who are buying houses as well. And you have to get better people so people can live more freely. And that's the problem with these urban centers, as it tends to be a refuge for bad people because they can get lost in the masses. And so all these bad people can get lost. Now, scam artists and that like little towns because they're not as sophisticated. But the FBI and the county sheriffs and the state police are supposed to be supporting the little towns, giving them the infrastructure and capacity that they don't get because they're not a big city. So they have to figure out how to equalize the equation to give them the resources they need to make those places safe as well. So they're not having the wolf in sheep's clothing living with them. And so it's an amazing view, and you get the pier, and then you get this panoramic going this way, and then you go back around, and then it extends out Navy Pier, and this is out on the lake, and you can see the edge of the pier with the lights that go around the edge. And so it outlines Navy Pier into the lake. And so it's really beautiful. So you can come down here and do the panoramic, and I'm not outside, but if I was outside, and let me step outside, but I'm always afraid the cops will come up and say, I have to get out of here. So it really sucks. I drive all the way down here to get harassed. I don't drive down here to get harassed. I drive down here, hopefully peace and quiet, and to enjoy the experience. But let's do this way. So you get the panoramic, and the trees kind of get in the way. But let's step aside of the tree. I could go on the walkway, but you can see the water as it moves, and you see the panoramic. Of the city of Chicago. And there's a little statue. There's a harbor behind. On the other side of that statue is a harbor. And then you have right here the Adler Planetarium. Right out on the water. But whoever decided to put this here actually was right. They put the planetarium all the way out here on the edge outside of the city lights, so the telescope can see better. And it's a nice full moon. And so let's just do the panoramic, and you can see out into the darkness. And those lights that are blinking, that's way out there, those are the pumping stations. That's the pumping station way out there for water that pumps it out of the lake. And so you get the glare here. But again, that's a pretty beautiful panoramic. And let's get the blue building in. Shouldn't be walking on the grass, but... And you have the blue building. It's awesome. And then you go back, and you have this panoramic. And this is what? This is digital art. And remember those non-fungible digital art, non-fungible digital tokens? Well, this is part of cryptocurrency. Now you have crypto art, and you have these non-fungible artworks that you can trade as currency. Truly art. And so you can use the crypto system for currency as a network of exchanging digital art. And Paris Hilton was talking about these non-fungible tokens, but non-fungible pieces of art that were digital. So, and she's a beautiful, smart girl, her and her sister Nikki, and they're Chicago. And you see here, you can see the Blue Cross Blue Shield symbols at the top of the building. Let's see if I can hold this. So there's a taller building to the left, and the Blue Cross is to the right, and you go down, and there's these two bright lights at the top of the building on the left side. That's the Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And so that's the Blue Cross and Blue Shield building in Chicago. And then right here, you can see the Trump building. And then over here, you can see the buildings, but I can't see the John Hancock. It's behind these buildings, so you don't get the John Hancock. You do have the Aon building, and this very tall building right here is an Aon building, and it's concrete, which is unusual for a big, tall building. And then you have right here the Sears Tower, and then you have the Chase building, or the Chase Tower, and it's Chase Blue. So some beautiful stuff down here.